So if you're looking to buy a business or help clients maybe with acquisitions, I'm going to break down today the steps to 9 figures. And I'm going to show you how to analyze deals, see growth potential, and scale businesses to 100 million and above. And those are going to be from lessons in a roll-up we were part of that went from zero to more than 200 million in revenues in less than 2 years. Step number one is that you need to create a 5-year growth plan. So look, most people have about 5 to 7 years of focused, obsessive energy that they can put into growing a business, usually before they want to go into something else. So the question isn't that just the averages, right? But that's kind of like what I've seen and also from my cycles. So the question is, what can we do in 5 years to build a business that is doing 100 million in revenues? And that's where what we call triple, triple, double, double framework comes in. And it comes from the best in class companies in the world. That's how they grew. They grew at a triple, triple, double, double, which basically means you triple your revenue 3 times, then you at least double your revenue twice after year over year. So let's say you start with a 3 million business that you bought. Here's how it looks, right? You go from 3 to 9 million in the first year. Second year, you go from 9 to 25, 27. Third year, from 27 to 57. And then from 54 to 108. So in 5 years, that's how you can turn a $3 million business into a 108 million business. And that's assuming that you're best in class. Sounds simple, of course, but obviously it requires super tight strategy, focus, execution, of course, and only then you might stand a chance. Step number 2 is the 9 steps to 9 figures. So scaling a business isn't just about having a good product or just completing the acquisition or having a good service. You need to get to a point where you transition from being a founder to building a real company. And there are multiple things to know in order to scale and get to that point. Things like knowing your ICP, or basically your ideal client profile or customer profile, is knowing first who are you selling to, right? Who's your ideal client? Then you probably need to know about what product you're selling. So what are you selling to that ideal client? Is it one product, few products, probably at least one good product to start with. The next P is promotion. So how are you selling it? Ideally at scale. So basically, what are your main growth and marketing channels? The next P is processes. So having systems that can scale. Next P is people. So having access and a process to bring in A players. And overall, just focus on quality over quantity. Then we have P for performance. So you want to set clear KPIs, incentives, and manage outcomes to create top performance for the business. Next P is profit. So it's all about your focus on maximizing margins. Then that allows you to think about the next P, which is basically a portfolio approach. So either to diversify your offerings or usually diversify portfolio offerings via acquisitions or more acquisitions. And last P can be for protection, or basically all about how to safeguard your business from risks. So when you analyze a business for acquisition, look at those things, right? And look at where that business or where they are in these phases. Like, do they have all those things in place? And maybe are they stuck at barely having product market fit? Do they have processes in place? How their performance is? Do they have accountability, a good team? And those will help you understand what's the upside for the business and to know if you're buying a good business. So the more you have of that list, usually the more premium you'll need to pay. And the less you have of that list, you could probably negotiate a better deal for yourself and have a better upside for when you're the owner. Step number 3 is learning and knowing if a deal is a good deal, or basically all about analyzing a deal to know if it's an acquisition that's worth doing in the first place. So like we said, there are some of the things that we went through right now. And when looking at buying a business, here's how you use the previous steps to analyze if it's a good deal, right? So you can look at things like revenue growth, right? Ask yourself, can this business follow this triple, triple, double, double model? Or maybe it already did. Second thing is you can look at retention. So how loyal are the customers, right? You can look at the what we call net revenue retention. So how many customers are staying and how many of them are continuing to pay even more every year for the service or product. The third thing is looking at processes and automations, right? So ask yourself, is the business systemized, or will you need as the new owner to build processes from scratch? Next thing is looking at people, right? So ask yourself, do they have a solid team? Or will you need to replace key roles? Who's going to stay with you after the acquisition versus who's not? Next thing is you can look at profitability. Ask yourself, is the business profitable? Can you improve margins? What can you do there? So for example, if a business is making 3 million, but the customer churn is high, which means that many customers are leaving the business every month or every year, it's a bit of a red flag. But if retention is strong and they lack only, let's say, just marketing processes, then that could be a great growth opportunity, right? Because the business is good on the basic of it, the base of it. You can get some customers and retain them, but maybe you're not able to bring in more customers. So just having a better systems and processes for marketing could exponentially grow the business. So having an eye to look at those right things can really help you. Step number 4 is post-acquisition strategies. So once you buy a business, you need to ask yourself, how do you grow it? So things that you can do is number 1, focus on retention before growth. How can you do that? You focus on improving customer loyalty and improving the quality of the product or service. And overall, increasing net revenue retention, like a 3% increase in revenue retention can at least double your valuation when you want to sell the business later on. Second thing you want to do is identify the bottlenecks. So ask yourself, why this business is not growing? Is it problems in sales? Is it problem in marketing? Maybe we're not getting enough leads. Or is it a problem in delivery? Maybe just there's a poor product or service. Where's the issue in the business? Number 3 to look for is optimizing for process, people, and performance or accountability. And so you want to look at things, what can you automate or what processes you can automate where possible. Hire or whether can you hire A players and not just put whatever random numbers or bodies into a random seat. And the way to know if you're having an A player or not, after you know the people, of course, is you can ask yourself, if tomorrow a competitor will try to take that person to hire him, would you try to do whatever it takes to keep him, or you just won't care and you'll be like, oh, whatever, I don't care. Like just that question alone can really help you understand if you really like that person and if he's doing good in the business or not. You also want to set performance goals with clear metrics and ongoing accountability and check-ins. And number 4 is you want to test and invest. So I suggest to use around 80% of your resources on what's already working. And what you can do is take 20% of your budget and resources to experiment with new opportunities like new growth channels or additional acquisitions. Let's move to step number 5, which is all about incentives and team alignment. A big mistake I see is people just structure bad incentives with employees or their CEOs or managers, executives, whatever you want. For example, maybe just incentivizing on profit share alone or profit alone. And the problem there, the challenge there is what can happen is that let's say you have a COO or someone running the business for you, or whoever operate the business for you. If you're only focused on incentivize them based on profit, they can easily focus on cutting costs or make that the main focus, but they ignore growth of the business. At the same time, if you're incentivizing based on revenue growth alone, then they might focus on growing sales, but they will lose money at the bottom line, right? So you need to understand that whatever incentivize you give people, that's usually the results you're going to see. Show me the incentive, I'll show you the results or the future. So what's the solution? Obviously depends on the type of business, depends on your goals. If you want to keep it safe, you can do a 50-50 incentive structure. So 50% can be based on revenue growth and 50% based on profit. So you can have some kind of a default, like a draw or retainer or a base salary plus additional bonuses that can come from 50% profit, 50% of growth of revenues. And also be flexible on equity versus just cash incentives, right? So again, it really depends because a lot of technology companies are only focused on equity. But if it's not a business that is like a fast growing technology company, a lot of owners or especially in the old school sectors, not everyone values equity. Some prefer cash or they don't even understand the value of the equity. So it's okay to let them choose as well. So for example, you can offer a 300,000 bonus package and let them, uh, decide such that they can split it, like we said, between cash and equity, however they prefer. So it's really flexible, but just be open to the fact that whatever incentivize you're going to give your employees, your managers, your CEOs will depend the results that you're going to get, will determine the results you're going to get. Which moves me to step number 6, which is just the difference between a founder versus CEO mindset. And the difference is, from what I've seen and experienced, is that founders, when you act as a founder, founders usually are kind of like the artists. CEOs are more of managers. So if you're acquiring a business or you have an existing business, ask yourself, like, are you the right person to run this business day to day? Or maybe should you hire a CEO or COO to handle the day-to-day operations? Because if you want to grow and you're seeing yourself as the visionary, your goal as a CEO should be to remove yourself from daily tasks eventually and focus on long-term growth. Eventually, if you see yourself the visionary, the CEO, the true leader of the business, again, it depends on your personality, but just from my experience, what I like, and for most of the people that kind of like follow my stuff and want to go into acquisitions, your goal is eventually to remove yourself from those daily tasks and focus on those long-term growth, like I said. And eventually, it's almost like, it sounds weird, but you want to become like the laziest person in the room in the business, with everything that is repeatable running smoothly without your constant involvement. And your only focus could then be on the high level stuff, which is focused more on doing more acquisitions, joint ventures, and just high level decisions, like focusing on the vision, on the people that you want to hire, and just capital, making sure that you have access to capital to continue to grow the business or operate the existing operation. So yeah, whether you're buying a business or advising clients in the process of acquisitions, remember to focus on, I suggest businesses that have retention as first priority. Then you could look at solid processes, alignment of team members with the right incentives, and that's how you can really create and be part of amazing businesses. So thank you for watching this, and I'll see you in the next one.